Good morning, you guys. Today I'm going to be looking at Winona Ryder and just trying to type her. I'm going to try to figure out basically her quadra first, and then I'll try to see also her parts, namely her human needs.
I'm Winona Ryder, and I am so lucky to be in the Criterion closet. I basically feel like I'm at church, my church. This is like my scriptures, the scriptures I follow. Okay, let's get started. Ah, à voir les enfants. So, this is a great Louis Malle film. I think it's somewhat autobiographical. It's about a Catholic school in France, in occupied France in World War II, who are hiding a few Jewish kids, and also a great example of how you could make a film about a war without actually seeing any violence, but feeling the emotional toll and the emotional violence. Anyway, absolutely beautiful. I am going to pick The Learning Tree because I absolutely love Gordon Parks. He's one of my absolute favorite photographers of all time, and he directed he directed Shaft, and he directed this, and I haven't seen it for a while, and but I really love him. And if you're not familiar with his work, do yourself a favor. You will not regret looking at his absolutely stunning photographs. This 5 films. John Cassavetes, Jenna Rollins is I think the greatest actress who I've ever seen. Jenna had a huge impact on me doing what I'm doing, because my mother was a projectionist, and I when I was very young, she had some connection, and I got to watch Cassavetes films at a really young age, and I didn't really understand what was going on because I was too young, but I remember watching Jenna, and I just wanted to do what she was doing. Another absolute favorite, Ghost Dog by the brilliant Jim Jarmusch. I love every single movie he's made, every frame of every movie he's made. He's actually he's one of my favorite people. Jim has this ability to get subtlety that really works in all of his films, but I really do love this one. I feel like, this is an obvious one. Down by law. Lost in America. I'm an enormous Albert Brooks fan. This is a particularly hilarious movie about a couple who's dropping out of society, and the Desert Inn has heart. If there's an expression all the kids use, if you know, you know. Anyway, it's so great. I love it. I know I keep saying that these are my favorite movies, but this truly is. This is Matewan, directed by John Sayles. I really put Matewan on the top of my list, along with this, Afterlife. It is a masterpiece. It's a movie about what happens when you die, and you're sort of in between, and they're trying to sort of figure out where you go, and they ask each person to come up with a memory that they really remember, that was a beautiful memory, and they recreate that memory, and they show it to you, and you're going to go live forever with that memory. Never told anyone this, but the two most comforting sounds growing up for me was my dad's typewriter and my mom's footsteps. That would be what I would pick to live forever, because that's when I felt their presence, and they're sort of my favorite people in the world. So anyway, hope I didn't give too much away, but these are what a double bill this would be. Okay, I'm gonna leave, which is very difficult because I could literally be in here forever. But I may have to come back because word on the street is Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid is gonna be in here. So it will be worth it just to come back and talk about that. Thank you.
So I don't know much about her. I know that she did a lot of work in the 90s. I saw her in high school. I watched a film in high school called The Crucible, and it was about the very early witch burnings in Salem, Massachusetts. Or did they hang the witches? I forget. But she was in that. So she's done horror, she's done Halloween kind of films, that kind of genre. She talks, to me, the way she talks is kind of strange. And she sounds like Heath Ledger's Joker just when she's being herself. She's definitely unique. Definitely very unique. So here we have an interview with Winona Ryder and Jenna Ortega. Jenna Ortega has been objectively typed, if I'm not mistaken, as an FINE type. So that's an INFP in the Myers-Briggs. FINE is a single decider, and it's Savior NF. Now, Jenna Ortega has done some horror movies, and she has done recently, she played the role of Wednesday Addams in, I believe, a Tim Burton Addams Family reboot on Netflix. I forget exactly what it was called, but she was the lead actress. Jenna Ortega is not that old. I don't think she's older than 25. So Jenna Ortega is this very young actress. And here you see Winona Ryder with some play energy just on the thumbnail. You notice how she's kind of leaning in and like enjoying the presence of Jenna. Because play is really enjoyable. Play is really, really enjoyable, especially when you're around people that you genuinely like and admire. You can start to glow. And there, I'm seeing a little bit of the glow of play from Winona. Now, obviously, her smile and her eyes, she looks a little scared. Winona. She looks a little scared, whereas Jenna looks a little more comfortable. Now, I happen to think that Jenna is not FINE. I don't think she's FINE. I think it's more likely that Jenna is SETI. I think it's more likely that Jenna Ortega is SETI. So we can try to see for ourselves in this interview, but I'm going to keep my focus on Winona Ryder.
That was an evil one.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Harper's Bazaar.
Hey, Harper's Bazaar. I'm Winona Ryder.
And I'm Jenna Ortega, and we are going to be answering some trivia questions that are all about us. I think Winona's an encyclopedia of information.
I know, but I actually peeked. There's like, there's.
I did the same. I have no idea. I think it's going to be a struggle.
Which role did Jenna learn to play the cello for?
What could that possibly...
Wednesday, perhaps?
We're shooting second season right now, so I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago I pulled my hair out, a good portion of my hair out for a cello piece. We shot that, so one and done, and then we're moving on to the next one, so I am currently playing. Never said I was good. What is Winona's astrological sign? What is your astrological sign? Are you like an Aries?
This is what's interesting. You're actually equally your moon and your rising. I learned that from this incredible astrologist who's very academic. She actually set out to prove it wrong.
So technically, this isn't fair.
Yeah. So I'm.
But you're two.
And
this is only referencing one.
Star sign is Scorpio.
Right.
And then I actually am trying to remember my other two. We had like an almanac, and it was like the 3 words were secretive, intense, and passionate.
I think you are a Volt.
Yeah.
I think you are passionate about things that you really care about.
Yes.
And that could also be seen as intense, but that does sound fairly accurate.
Which Disney princess did Jenna voice for Elena of Avalor?
That's an impossible question. I'll answer that for you.
What movie?
It was a television show, but you were a grown woman, and I was a child. When that happened, that was an evil one.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Harper's Bazaar. So Elena of Avalor is Disney's first Latina princess. So it was a big deal in like the parks and things like that, but you were not watching Disney Channel.
So why is Jenna basically explaining all this all of this basic information to Winona, who actually did all of the stuff that they're talking about right now? Am I mistaken? Am I missing something? Or is Jenna explaining Winona's life to Winona?
It was animated?
It was animated,
Okay.
and I played Elena's little sister, Isabel. That's what that was.
I once did an episode of The Simpsons, and I was so excited. I thought everyone was going to be there, and nobody was there.
Sometimes it is, but sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't.
Yeah.
It's quite isolating at times.
I thought everyone was gonna be there, and no one was there. So, okay, that sounded very mean, but I'm just basically parroting what Winona just said. So that sounds very decider. We all know that. I hoped everyone was gonna be there, and no one was there. So that's a little spike. And where is Jenna? Jenna's completely relaxed. In fact, Jenna's like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's okay. That's okay, sweetie. That's okay, darling. It's okay. That's okay. You know? So I don't feel like Jenna's a single decider. I feel like Winona is demonstrating a single decider swing. It's not that Jenna can't be a single decider. It's that Jenna's not demonstrating a single decider swing. So once we see all this footage of Jenna being a single decider, then we'll type her a single decider. But right now, Jenna's pretending to be a single observer or something.
I mean, I was so excited.
I think if you reached out, you probably could meet them.
Yeah.
Which Cher music video did Winona star in alongside Christina Ricci? Which is so hard because I know they did Mermaids together. Incredible film. Cult classic. Which music video was it for Cher?
It was for the movie. She did the Shoop
sound.
Shoop song, a remake of that.
And
Oh, is it when you guys are all dressed up in the matching outfits, like you're the Supremes or Ronettes or something? Oh, I have seen that. I just didn't realize.
Yeah.
You know what I just found out as well? I didn't realize that you were in a Killers music video that Tim directed. That was a news flash to me, so I didn't know that.
Candle, the wick.
Well, yeah, he told me he made a wax figure of you for that. So weird. Just
There
tell
was
me
like
about
a
that.
place in Blackpool called like
The knockoff Madame Tussauds.
they had it looked nothing like a wax figure, and that's how like Tim saw it and he got this whole idea. So I kind of come to life, and
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Tim
But,
told me he saw that and just thought, "Oh, I have to get that."
yeah. What fast food chain did Jenna do 3 commercials for in 1 year? If I had to guess, I don't know. What are
Honestly,
the big
just go
ones?
for the most obvious one.
McDonald's?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like 3 unrelated casting directors.
Wow.
I just was a kid and I was only allowed to audition for commercials my first year of acting. They wouldn't let me do TV or movies. I had to prove myself because
Wow.
I was no name, not associated with anybody, just a random girl, small
Right.
town, whatever. I would sit in these casting, I mean, you know, the
Yeah.
cattle calls, this large group
Right.
of kids. Okay, you go, you go, you go. And then I was always the last one standing. And I
Yeah.
guess 3 different casting directors had like seen my tape. So in the 1 year that I was only doing commercials, I did 3 McDonald's commercials. So I was accidentally the McDonald's girl,
Wow.
but nobody knew or realized. I think people probably thought I had some deal.
3
But that is the thing that people do.
unrelated.
Yeah. Very weird.
Huh.
What role did Winona's agent beg her not to take? That's so hard because I feel like so many of Winona's roles are incredible and with incredible people behind them as well.
It was early on, and it was a very subversive.
Was it like- It wasn't Heather's.
Yes, it was.
Oh!
It was.
I remember that audition process being crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I had to go because I wasn't.
Jenna goes, I remember that audition process being crazy for you. So Jenna's like already more calm about this. And never mind.
Considered pretty enough. So I went across the street to the Beverly Center and to the Macy's counter. They had them do a makeover on me. And I went back and I was like, please. But my agent at the time literally got down like on her knees and she's like, please, you're going to destroy.
Or maybe
any
she's
chance of
a Scorpio because that's really intense.
Yeah. But I actually did lose a job right when it was coming out. I had been cast in a movie and the director took great offense to it.
I think you were better off.
Yeah.
I think you did.
I think
you've done it. You've done okay.
What was Jenna's first film role? I mean,
So this is a bit embarrassing because Jenna's kind of just looking at Winona, and it's clear that Jenna's doubles, whatever they are, she's kind of used them a little better. Winona, she's a little off balance. She's just a little off balance, and you can see that with her facial expressions, with her thoughts. There's some it's like she's on a balance board or something, or a balance beam, and she's quickly trying to balance herself, like she's staggered. Jenna, on the other hand, when she walks a tightrope or when she's trying to balance, Jenna's more stable, and she's a lot more stable. So whatever we want to attribute that to, it doesn't have to be single observer for Jenna Ortega, but you're seeing a person who's far younger than Winona Ryder. Now, this, by the way, this is what trauma can do. If you endure trauma, say you endure a film and the role does feel embarrassing, and then you go to the award show and everyone mistreats you because they think lesser of you, perhaps, that will incur trauma. And then what someone has to do with that is they have to process that. They have to be able to address it if someone asks you about it. and they have to be able to own it to a certain extent. So those 3 steps are steps that a lot of Hollywood people struggle with because it's so public. So that could also explain it, is maybe here we're seeing Jenna Ortega has leveled up in life. Oh, Jenna has leveled up in life, so she's at a higher level than Winona. Or Jenna just hasn't been beaten or weathered like Winona, in which case Winona is at a higher level in a sense, because Winona has endured more, she's seen more, she's given more, she's lost more. So do we really want to look at people in terms of level like that, especially if Winona has basically done more, is undoubtedly more successful than Jenna, has contributed more to movies? I don't know. It's just the fact that Jenna is laughing with Winona Ryder. It's beautiful. I'm not saying that Jenna's 10 times better than Winona Ryder. I'm just saying Jenna's younger than me, and I'm 25, and Jenna's in there, and she's really funny, charismatic, she's making jokes. You know what I'm saying? Like, did you hear what Jenna said? Winona goes, "My agent got down on her hands and knees," and Jenna goes, she must have been a Scorpio. So that's obviously hilarious and slightly condescending. That's just hilarious from Jenna, that Jenna would say that. Anyways, I digress.
I mean, I know you were on a show.
You're talking about CSI New York? Yeah, what?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was in Iron Man 3. It was reshoots. I played a girl who was missing a leg. I was sitting on my leg the entire day in a wheelchair, and then when I rapped, I went to stand up and I almost fell on my face because my leg was asleep.
Oh my God.
But my mom says that she laughs because she remembers the memory of me hobbling to the car after work, just being so excited that I had worked in a movie.
Thanks so much for having us, Harper's Bazaar.
Yes, and be sure to watch Beetlejuice in theaters. It's a good time for everyone.
So you could hear at the end in Winona's voice was actually kind of some love and reverence for Jenna. And I don't know, that's strange, because what scares me being an FE type is, whoa, I can clearly see that Winona might feel some jealousy of Jenna. Because, wow, this girl is so young, and yet she is so wise. She's beyond her years. So Winona's showing that love, but you can also hear something else. Like Winona is a little concerned about how precocious Jenna is. So, yeah.
I'm Winona Ryder, and this is my life in looks. This picture was taken at one of my very early auditions. I didn't get the part, partially, I think, because of my look. A lot of people mistook me for a boy. I felt like to be an ingenue, or if I did have the look, it would have been not really me. So I was kind of oddly perfectly happy being more of a character actor. But I remember taking a trip to LA, and back then you had to sort of, if you didn't have any credits, you had to come up with like a monologue to do. And I sort of put the Salinger novella of Franny, from Franny and Zoe. I adapted it into a long monologue. Sort of obsessed with the Glass family to this day. Beetlejuice. I credit Tim and this movie with really helping sort of launch my career. I completely identified with it. They didn't have to do much to me to make me look the way that I did. I recently found a picture of me and my brother and my friend from a few months before I auditioned, and I looked very much the same as Lydia. I was super pale, and I had dyed my hair L'Oreal blue black. I mean, there were such great lines. My whole life is a dark room, one big dark room. Obviously, the wardrobe was incredible. I hadn't seen that in any type of studio movie. I just really remember feeling surprised and just so excited and grateful to be treated as a collaborator, you know, and it meant a lot to me. Okay. Veronica Sawyer. Heathers is another one of my favorites. I think it's a masterpiece. I absolutely was just in love with the script, in love with the character, the language. I mean, I was just, you don't have to pay me. I just need to say these lines. Each Heather is a different color, and they're actually very different girls, but they're part of this clique. We decided on blue for Veronica. Blue, to me, it's almost bruised, you know, and I felt like she was going through a lot of emotional, like, bruising, you know, be it from JD or the girls or her own conscience. It made the most sense, and I identified with that color. I'm also a huge Joni Mitchell fan. The term in the sort of, oh, I've got the blues. Like, I was sort of, there was a lot of different little things that I had in my head that I just kept for myself that had to do with blue. Oh, Veronica. I was returning from Edward Scissorhands. Out of frame is Tim Burton, and this was back when the paparazzi could wait literally at the gate. It was always so embarrassing because you'd have this long walk and everyone would be looking like, who are you photographing? You know, I still have this Stegosaurus briefcase, or it's like a mini suitcase, and I still use it. I do think it does capture the mood you're in when you're like greeted by paparazzi. It also reminds me of that time, which was a really nice time. This was taken at the premiere of The Commitments. Last minute, got it, you know, invited. Just literally wearing my old Doc Martens, my precious Tom Waits t-shirt that I wear all the time. Leather jacket, which I think was my mom's. I wonder if I still have it. I probably do. My dad was right out of frame. This was the brilliant Aiko Ishioka, who did these incredible costumes. It was my first experience in corsets, which was intense. Really, really helped in terms of like building the character and how you carry yourself, how women were sort of forced to carry themselves with these clothes. The great Andre Leon Talley was there. We had, you know, these little breaks because back then we filmed with film, and when it would run out, they'd have to reload. And so you'd have about 20 minutes. And Andre was so wonderful and patient, but he'd steal us away. It was a really fun day. I really loved him. This was sort of the time where everyone was wearing those little slip dresses. I was suddenly considered attractive. I wasn't playing the like the weirdo. Something shifted, and I was suddenly sort of like a
leading lady, which I kind of didn't see coming. But back then, you're so focused on the work that you're not really thinking about your persona. I do remember this being like, oh my, it was like on the cover of Vogue. If you had told me that a few years prior, I would have never, ever believed it. It was definitely a switch for me. The Age of Innocence, another favorite of mine. Obviously, to work with Scorsese is any actor's dream. To work with Daniel Day-Lewis is, it doesn't get better than that. There's this scene where I sort of come in and I'm taking my hat off and I embrace him. Marty had me switch the hat pin, so I'm literally, looks like I could stab him. And there's this great line, Richard E. Grant says it, where he says that my character has eyes with a lot of lashes. And I just always thought that was such a incredible line. The costumes were very important and very detailed. This was at the Academy Awards, was the first time I was nominated. I do remember sitting there. I was actually quite scared to win because I always felt like there would be a backlash, and I was young, and it was like kind of a little bit of a stressful night, but I also was very nervous about sitting and not breaking the beads. It was just I was just trying to take care of the beads. And then, Susanna from Girl Interrupted. My gosh, I still have this shirt. This movie meant a lot to me. It was a very complex role, and it was a true story, and I very much wanted to do it justice to Susanna Kaysen, who I play. The wardrobe was very, very crucial, because it was at the end of the 60s. It was a weird time because people just were not talking about anything to do with mental illness. I wanted to sort of start some sort of dialogue about making people feel a little bit less like it's just them and that, they're crazy. This is a beautiful vintage Pauline Trigère dress. I've worn it a few times because it's so beautiful. I wore it once without the cape. It's just a stunning dress. This is Marc Jacobs. This was the time I went to the Met Gala, and I went with Marc. He put me in this beautiful velvet dress.
So I've said before that the way I type is that I find their quadra first, and that sounds ridiculous, but really all I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, I'm seeing more TE than FE. I'm seeing more FI than TI. I'm seeing more NE than SC, and I'm seeing more SI than NI. So on each of those, I'm seeing delta quadra. But I don't know where the DE is. I don't know where the feeling is. I don't know where the human needs are. I don't know what the doubles are in the middle. But the fact that I'm able to be honest and say, I can see more indicators of TE, FI, NE, and SI. Well, now I've eliminated 3/4 of the board. And I don't have to pretend like, oh, is this an ISFP? I don't know. Right? So when you start with quadra, that's a cross check, and that's just fair. That's fair game. So I do see delta quadra. And this didn't take me that long. I'm obviously seeing DE above DI. I'm seeing OE above OI. Intuition above sensing. Thinking above feeling. I'm seeing demon feeling. Her thinking function is strange because it's it's hard to see a lot of, I guess, linear thought. Although thought is a funny thing because it doesn't necessarily have to stack. You don't have to thinking doesn't have to stack. So when you see someone who does not stack thinking, but they have very strong thinking, then that might confuse someone who does stack thinking. If Winona, hypothetically, was Savior TE, then her thinking would be always in the game of play. Because TE and DE is part of play. So TE is play thinking. So that would be hard to look at and say, oh, well, she's stacking a bunch of reasons and connecting them all together in one long chain. That's not play. So I see thinking above feeling. I could easily see that. So with Winona, I'm seeing more decider above single observer. Observer. So you put together all those and you have this type. So again, I'm not saying she's that type. I'm saying all these other observations say she's that type. So if you want to argue with me, argue on not on the type, but on all these other observations. All right, let's argue about decider versus observer. Let's argue. Okay, do we agree? Do we disagree? You say this, I say this, facts, back and forth, interpretations, we disagree. But at least we both communicated each other. Even if you agree to disagree with someone, what's good about having a conversation is at least now you have the sensory that was in their head. You have the information that they were thinking or sensing or whatever. That's what a conversation is good for. That's why you want to listen to dissent at times. Yeah, so I see all this. I'm seeing play. She loves to play. Some of her favorite memories are of play. Now, she doesn't have this big play face. She has a little bit more of a thinner face, but that just could be femininity talking. Yeah, very interesting. So I would probably give her, let's see, for her animals. I didn't really focus on her animals, but she definitely, yeah, I established consume above blast when she was in that library. And it seemed to be way above blast. So yeah, I would probably say she's this animal stack. I don't see why not. She could be blast third. I don't think she's savior blast. But blast last can talk. In fact, some people with blast last can talk really, really, really well. It's just that they're not organized. But if they can find some way to get organized via their sleep, they can give great speeches. Like Joe Biden, when he was younger, he just beat the brakes off of Paul Ryan in the vice presidential debate of the 2008 election, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been the 2012 election. But Joe Biden beat the brakes off of Paul Ryan in that vice presidential debate. So that's Joe when he was a little younger, a little sharper. And again, Joe's been blast last all his life. He's been sleepy his life. But he's ST, so he was smart back then. And he won that debate handedly, even though he had blast last. Sometimes consume is better than blast at communicating. Why? Because it just depends on what information you're communicating. Anyways, so yeah, I would say probably something like this for Winona. And I know we would want to make her visual or something because she's so gloomy and whatever, but I don't see visual. I see feminine DI, and I see maybe masculine sensory. I'm not sure. I really didn't look at that. So yeah, that would make her audio or double feminine. And frankly, when you look at her and she looked really boyish as a kid, and how shocked she is to be seen as a feminine icon, I'd say that leans towards a little bit more audio, just a little bit. So there you go. That's her. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.